All right, so looking at yesterday, we had the nice move right off the open, off of this key level 670, very important level on the higher time frames, prior support, right? Buyers show up to protect this. We see the green precision activating off a teal break, and 5-day MA was roughly in this area. So we had an easy target. Yep, this red line was the lowest print of the 5-day MA. So a very, very good move. The green precision was a dead giveaway that the buyers were here, right? So very, very nice trade. Second trade was a Zomi off the 5-day MA resistance with the blue precision appearing after orange contained price, right? So you see that orange containment. Buyers failed to push higher within the precisions. So there was likely to be a retracement. All you need is the volatility, so you wait for the blue precision to appear. You could have taken the trade a little bit earlier as well. I just wait for the precision to appear, understanding that where my next target would be within this area. Being able to make out a good risk to reward, right, following the blue precision to this target was easy enough. Um, Not a bad Zomi at all, right? That's how Zomis work. You're looking for a lack of, right, from a side, understanding that you can get a good enough risk reward. So, yeah, not a bad trade. And precision, very important for day trading and options, right? Um, but this ends up turning out to be a inverted head and shoulder appearing. So not so bad of a trade on the other side here. If you were able to see the teal break with the orange precision, which then flips into blue precision here, could have taken the trade up here as well, as the levels here do flip as support. And not too bad of a trade that way either. And then basically for most of the rest of the day here, we chopped around. Sure, a possible trade within here. You see I highlighted it within the magenta because the magenta was buying, right? But this is a nested inverted head and shoulder, right? Same support, liquidity, right shoulder turns into a left shoulder to break out, right? So that's how nested inverted head and shoulders form. Same support, right? Right shoulder is the left shoulder. Right? That's how that forms up. Um, and then the really nice end of day trade you'll see in the live analysis that I placed, or I said to wait for a precision to appear, especially for end of day lottos. That is very important. You see the blue break, you see the buyers appearing, and you had an easy target in the 20-day MA being right here. So I took the trade slightly later, but was able to take it at 1546 myself. You definitely could have taken it at 1544, 45, right? You see the precision appearing. That's all completely fine, and this candle rewards you here, right? This is almost a 1 point candle here. Contracts for me went from 110 all the way up to like 400, so not a bad trade. I sold them roughly at like 300 something though, but they ended up going to like 400 something. So not a bad trade, right? But I want you to look at what's going on, right? We're in a buying continuation now, so keep that in mind. Let's look at the daily chart. Right, MAs, we're starting to converge price within the MAs. So the MAs will start to converge as long as price stays above, right? The 5-day MA will cross the 20-day MA, and we could head back into an uptrend. But right? We need to watch for that. I want you to also keep an eye on the cues. So this could be, I'll show you on the 30-minute, but there is a lot of liquidity here, a lot. So whatever the market wants to do, up or down, it shouldn't be surprising to you. This is a point of, again, confusion for the market. Nobody knows if we're headed up or headed down ever, truthfully, but the trend is converging from a downtrend into an uptrend if the 5-day pushes above. So this is a place where if the big boys come in, they can get very volatile very quickly for either end. Looking at the 30-minute here, you see green buying, pink a break, right? We're above this pink now. We're in between these pinks. Um, so it'll be ideal then to watch for buying continuation. Within the green algo, any rejection, you have all of this liquidity here. Buyers already pushed through this liquidity here. Um, so we will watch to see if we reject and break down, right? The first position will come near the green break with yellow, right? Wherever the green breaks. If we taper above, right, and we lack continuation, there'll be a starter position right here, and then the yellow will have this right shoulder here then. So watch for how it appears, how price is moving. Don't rush any trades. Very simply, we are above the MAs. You want to keep it very, very simple for yourself. Above the MAs equals bullish, below the MAs equals bearish. All right, it'll be very simple if you do that. You'll look for calls above, you'll look for puts below. Any larger move to the upside, I would like to see if we could form some sort of handle after closing this cup. So if we want to form it like this as well, also completely fine if it wants to come back to the MAs. So just keep an eye on it. Don't rush any trades, right? Right. All right. So as of where we're at now, keep an eye on the Qs. The Qs are near its 20-day MA currently. There will be, the best way to say this, um, there's likely to be a sell to the MAs to retest it, right? We haven't retested them um, as support in the live market. So the first thing always, right, I always say this, watch for the head and shoulder, right? You need volatility to take any trade, but this early it's never ideal. So just also keep that in mind. But yeah, what I'm watching for will be the uh, head and shoulder to the 5-day MA or 20-day MA, right, into the inverted head and shoulder off of the MAs. This would be the most ideal. Right, if we get both of these setups today, I mean, that would just be a very nice trading day. So, right, if we sell and come back up to take it out, right, there'd be positioning here, and again, positioning here. Okay, remember, first things first, read what's going on, read the structure. What do you currently see, right? You see not much quite yet. Um, Buyers were buying within the orange. There is now a weaker buying algorithm, which would be this magenta. Okay, so you have a low, you have a high, buyers breaking out, but not much liquidity within this area, still very early, not ideal to be trading any of this. Right, as a scalper though, that's what you would look at. Not much risk to reward within, right? You need to understand that if you were to take anything, it's just not very favorable is the best way to say that, I guess. Okay, so at this point, if you're looking for puts, you need to be understanding on what's going on. Buyers are currently pushing out of teal. I've placed this pink. I want you to watch to see if the buyers are going to break out of magenta, right? So before that, if you're looking short, you need to see a green precision, ideally green precision appear, right? So if you don't see that seller activating, there's no reason for you to take puts at all, right? But the most ideal trade is we get a head and shoulder to 20-day MA. All right, the low for Qs right now, this low below, around this area, is where the 20-day MA is at on Qs, right? So it'll be the first target they'd go for, and it makes sense as that's also low a day, right? Okay, so as of now, you just see a slow grind to the upside. Ideally then, this becomes liquidity for a larger head and shoulder to appear, right? Bit more ideal if it occurs like this. So any trades you take, right? I want you to look at imbalance in price from prior highs and lows, right? So prior high becoming support. That means your new high would be this area. That's not much of an imbalance, right? Can you make a trade out of it? Of course, right? But you need to know where your risk to reward is. That's not ideal though. So an ideal setup is seeing a clear imbalance in price away from this range, right? This is just a slow grind up. Otherwise, the safest bet is waiting for cups to close, right? You see the seller activating here on the break of magenta. You have to watch for what your risk to reward would be. All sorts of great things. There's the support level here. Yeah, so not an ideal trade, but if you understood, right, this was the low. If you were taking a breakout here, would you have been able to protect? Is it worth it, right? Probably not. Could you have protected and done it? Yeah, but is there better setups? Of course, right? This is much better as liquidity. Otherwise, if it wants to, allow it to close the cup and flip the 20, let me draw that a little better, 20-day MA as resistance, right? QQQ 20-day MA, this would be better, right? Okay, so now I want you to be able to identify the wedge off the open, right? This will be a practice that you should always do. You know the buyers were buying here, sellers are selling here, right? So what do you need to see? Ideally, right? A break and retrace of one of these areas, which means your current wedge would be within here, right? Now you see precision appearing on a breakout, but magenta containment right above. Okay, so as of right now, we have a strong buyer attempting to break out of the magenta containment within the orange. But just be wary of what could come back to take you down, right? This is really good liquidity here. So ideally, we get some sort of retracement if the buyers appear and pushing out of this magenta, right? More ideal if it's a retracement like this. Okay, magenta contained price, but still buying in the orange. Typically, it takes more than one candle. If you're scalping and you see a resistant wick like that, it is a trade you could take. Just be much more cautious, right? It's better for days like today, um, if the precision has already been appeared, which it has, but you need to be protected ASAP, right? Or guide your runners ASAP with the precisions, right? Um, so positioning yourself, if you were like right here, you'd basically want to guide as soon as you see a precision appearing. Breaking out with orange would be more ideal as long as it's contained within magenta. You're lacking continuation of a precision, right? So as long as magenta contains price and the precision fails to buy, there is Zomi opportunity. Try to understand where buyers will be, right? They broke out of the resistance here, so buyers would be within this area, right, near the pink. I'll place down a precision. It's not selling in blue or green, right? But if you were to take any Zomi here, you could guide with this. As long as it stays within magenta, you can guide a Zomi. Now, I'm not telling you to take position, I'm just showing you how you would do it. And if it's not a stronger precision appearing, right, you don't need to hold it. Just always understand what you're guiding with, right? So if you don't like that it's only selling within the teal and it's attempted already, you could cut here or you could allow it to continue within the magenta. Oh, magenta would push out and you would get stopped out. I always wait for the precision. As you've seen, I wouldn't take position here, a stronger precision as I did yesterday. So for me, ideally, I would like to see precision firstly appear. If the blue precision started appearing within this area, I would have taken it here, right? So if you had strong selling here and then retrace, I would prefer this. The reason I don't take it here, um, for a few reasons. For one, we're in a buying continuation on the higher time frame, and I don't see that stronger seller appearing quite off the break of this. It's not ideal for me to take it this early. But again, can you? Yes, right? It's definitely possible. You see the resistant wick, right? You even see the penny perfect magenta holding this down, pushing out of the orange. All right. That is something you could, if you want to practice Zomies, it's a trade you could take. Problem is now they are containing price in a very tight range up here. It's just going to be safer to wait. They do lack precision, which is more ideal for a Zomi as long as you get some better positioning. At this point for me, I need to wait for this. I don't want to take anything other than this. This is where the liquidity level is. Well, technically it's within this area now, but that's what I want to see. All right, instead, now it's much safer if the precision appears. All right, we've got some selling occurring at the top of this range. Blue precision, green precision could be appearing. Much safer for me to take position now. I see the pink containment. I want to see if the buyers or sellers will push through this. If they do not, I am looking for position within the precisions. Much safer for me to do that. Otherwise, if buyers lack or the sellers lack to stay within the precision, I want you to watch to see if they'll use the magenta to form this higher low. Right, this is also very possible. So try to understand where your targets would be. The sellers need to target this liquidity with precision, right? You've got a head that's forming up here, but you don't see this quite yet, right? So understand then, if you're going to take any puts, you need to be protected by here. Right, so let's take a peek of what we've seen so far. We see liquidity here, magenta containing price, right? Currently, buyers are still above this area, holding it as support, right? So ideally, you watch to see if the precision will appear to break out of the support levels, being pink containment for one, right? And magenta with a head and shoulder. Um, if that does not happen, the buyers could form this as a higher low. There's not much liquidity in here, so it's not ideal. So I would prefer to wait for magenta break and retrace as support, right? I would ideally want to see this, right, within precision, or whichever precision appears here, right? Before going long earlier. Any long before that, I'd like to see more liquidity, right? So now this is ideal to see, right? If you were in any put position, you'd be protected, guided with the blue precision now, pushing out of the pink, right? So starter position in here would have been nice from a Zomi, from the lack of, right, with and magenta containment. Um, not the worst thing to see. If you took any trade here, you had to be protected. Now you're wanting to see if this has continuation. I would like to see if this right shoulder forms here with pink containment breaking. Could also happen this way as well if they break and retrace the magenta, right? You would see this level flipping resistance. Okay, so still contained within magenta, but blue is selling. Watch this carefully. Buyers, if they're going to push out of this, you have to, well, firstly, understand where your risk to reward would be with the magenta above, and seeing where the liquidity levels are, right? This isn't ideal to be going long quite yet. Not enough liquidity built, so instead try to wait for the break and retrace, unless there's a better starter position below, right? Buyers could contain it within magenta here, but again, it's not the most ideal. Just not much liquidity above. If we build a nested within, that'd be a bit more ideal, right? Waiting for this nested head and shoulder to appear with precision. Okay, you see some buyers appearing here. Still, it isn't ideal to be going along unless you understand your risk to reward. It could be a positive ratio. All right, so if you're scalping, you need to understand where your target would be, which would be near this pink and this level here. If you were to take any breakout of teal, for example, with orange precision, right, you would have to target within this area, which means your low or your stop out would be around this area. So you'd try to make a decent risk to reward ratio between these two areas to get protected. Instead, since there's not much liquidity, there's not much confirmation on what's happening, right? So let's read what price has done so far. They have a low here, they've had a high here, right? Price breaks out of this range here. They formed a new high here, and they tried to form a higher low here, which broke down, right? So now the sellers may be forming a lower high within this area to break down again, right? Instead, wait for more confirmation if it's unclear here, right? A nested inverted head and shoulder, right, would rebuild more liquidity, showing us this higher low forming up within, and that it's contained within the bullish control algos, right? So keep that in mind. Vice versa for downside. Watch to see as long as the magenta is holding support, you have to be very wary if this is headed down. So watch to see if they do form this as a lower high and form a lower low and retrace off of this magenta, right? So keep that in mind. Watch these two areas here with this level here as well that they're also playing off of. Gotta watch this carefully and see where the support is. Alright, so it's not ideal to be taking puts at support. Instead, wait for it to break and retrace as resistance, unless you were able to scalp the position off of this mid-level here that I was talking about, where the buyers would be, now the sellers are. But then again, is this worth the risk to reward? Sure, maybe, if it breaks, right? It's a scalp that could turn into a better trade. Just try to understand you can wait for more confirmation. If you lack getting good fills and entries like that, it's always just safer to wait. You don't see a stronger precision quite yet appearing. A seller precision. Okay, I'm going to map out the blue. If you're in position, make sure to get protected. There definitely was some decent positioning here, right? If you understood the levels, you understood where you could take position, right? Saw the lower high forming. We're now pushing under the lower low. Not too bad at all. Keep an eye on QQQ, 20-day MA. Keep an eye on the Qs in general. They're more bullish than SPY is currently. Okay. Now, I did get in position here. Once I did see that this was holding resistance, I saw this position off of the pink, was able to take it here. Not too bad at all. Protected by the support level here at 690.62. Now I'm holding to see if we're going to head lower, hopefully pushing below um, towards the 20-day MA, right? That would be ideal. If you are in position as well, seeing the head and shoulder forming here, protect, right? And try to guide as long as you can. Protect more by low a day, right? Just keep protecting at supports before supports, truthfully. So if you're protected here, well done. Now your goal is to try to guide a runner all the way down. It's a good trade for it, right? Keep an eye on that 30 minutes, see what's going on. Right, what do you see is playing out, right? So far, it's this. And you have a target like 20 DMA below. So if you can hold a runner to it, right, that will be ideal. You'll be much happier with yourself if you get protected and learn how to hold a runner when you have a target like that below, right? If it's not selling in the strongest precision, that's a different story, right? It's still selling within teal. I'm going to guide my runner with teal as long as I possibly can. I'd like to see this get to 20 DMA. If it can't, it is what it is. I'm fully protected. That's my target. If there's an opportunity to reload, it's also just fine as well. Okay, so this high held. So my next stop out will be this area here. Now let's see if we can crack. Come on, blue precision. Hopefully the green appears and we can push all the way down, right? If this teal breaks, right, the blue precision activates, that would be very nice. That's what you're hoping for if you're in position. If you're not in position, right, just wait for a retracement of some sort. Please don't take where my targets are as a confirmation that it's going down there. I have no clue if it is. It could literally come to get my stop loss right now, right? I have no clue. So that is, I'm just telling you what I'm doing so that if you are in position, right? Some people have asked help on how to guide runners a little bit better. You can see my thought process live, right? Stop losses within this area because this is where the prior seller was at to break the support, and that's where teal is at as well, right? So as long as it holds, I'm in position. I got a good enough fill, got protected, all right? Protected all at 10:07, right, where the support was, 10:06 and 10:07. And so, as long as my position is in the money and protected, I'm good to go. To the penny, isn't it? All right. You see how understanding that this is where the sellers were at was important. Now, my stops do go above this, so if it pushes out now, that's completely okay. I can wait for the next structure. Um, I'm not too worried about that. Your goal in trading is to be able to get protected and stress-free and hope that you get as much continuation as possible, right? So as long as there's continuation, I can hold this runner. Where do we lack continuation? The break of teal. But so far, so good. Watch the volume here. Volume will be important to watch. You're going to want to see a spike on this breakdown. I want you to see if it's going to activate a stronger seller, right? Because they're going to attempt to push through the low day. If the precision appears here, and that's where a lot of volume will spike up. And I want you to watch to make sure that if the candles are coming in, if they're not large, right? If they're That's also a divergence, right? If the candles are very small and a lot of volume, that means both sides are competing. But the candles are large with high volume, they're soaking up the buyers and selling right through them. Sellers just may not have enough here either. That's okay. If that's the case, not every trade is going to be, big 300, 400% profits. You have to be okay with that. I'm still within position here. It didn't trigger my stop, which still was here. So as long as this can sell here, that would be ideal. I now move my stop loss to this high though. Uh, that's very nice. Okay, so if you're in position, right, obviously get protected again. This is another chance to protect if you weren't. The hopes is that this does break through the low a day. I want you to look at the Qs. Qs are starting to get a bit more aggressive in their selling. The EMA cloud will flip if this starts to push under the um, low a day here. Still is green, just an FYI. Just means there's a little bit more confusion going on, especially since it's not in the strongest selling precision quite yet. I'll move this over so you can see it. Yeah, pretty choppy action here. Not ideal to be holding the trade now. If you are guiding a runner, at this point you understand where your high and low is, right? High is here, low is here. It's very condensed. I'm gonna place a pink here. I want you to be careful of this, right? There's confusion right now with the QQQ not even being close to its low a day here. It's still 3.5 points above it, right? We're much, much closer to it on SPY. It's a bit choppier. The hopes is that now, if this is to push out, you'd get another head and shoulder to appear here. Hopefully, um, after it closes the inverse cup a bit more here. So if we can, firstly do this, then build that liquidity, and then break out. Okay, watch the low a day retest here. That'll be the first area um, to see if a pullback will actually occur. You see pink here. I'd be very careful of taking any breakdowns of the pink break and retrace. It's possible, but I want you to be able to see this, right? If they break, fail to stay down below this range, they can reclaim this and break out. So just be very, very careful of an inverted head and shoulder here. If you are still holding runners, that's possible. Um, just understand what's going on, right? Um, and I would not suggest holding runners unless you were in within these areas, right? Um, you would have to guide with the pink. It's not the most ideal to be guiding with, right? And if pink breaks, that's where you would cut all runners. Obviously, with the target below, it is 20-day MA being below. It is worth it if it obviously holds, but you would be holding maybe 10% of your runners, right? So if you had 10 position, you could hold one, right? Replace these blue algos here so you can see price containment within. Okay, so if you were in any buy or put position, you'd be out at the pink break, right? Wouldn't be ideal to hold it there. Instead, I want you to see if we get a proper structure to form now. So keep something in mind, okay? This point wasn't retested, and now we have a high and a low day within these areas. Where will the breakout occur? Right? Either here or um, or here, right? So you can be patient and waiting for them. All right, there's no point in overtrading the in-between. It's not a very large range here. All right, it's roughly 2 points, less than that. That's okay though, right? You found profits in the chart, and you're good to go. Just wait for the next setup. Instead, make sure you're watching the 30-minute. See what the 5-minute is doing, right? You'll see that it was in a bullish uptrend the whole time, right? The cloud is green. That is something to keep in mind when if you're using it, if you're reading through that, right? Um, Technically, this is a higher low, right? On the higher time frames. So just keep that in mind. Bulls definitely could show up here. Um, Technically, they're in bearish containment right now, so just keep that in mind as well. You don't need to rush a trade. Don't ever do that. Just wait for more confirmation when you can. As of now, you don't see much happening, right? You see a head and shoulder that played out, but couldn't even get us to low day. Instead, it was guided by this teal the whole time. And now teal has broken, and we are attempting to break out of this pink here as well. Problem is there's not really any stronger buying precision, right? So you can't really do much of anything as of now. Instead, when you see this, it's much, much safer just to set alerts, right? Watch for the liquidity building, right, within this area. It could even extend further, right? So just keep that in mind. It's safer to wait for a head to appear either direction first, right, before a move actually happens. Or just simply wait for breakouts and retraces, right? This would be safer. Okay, now you see a precision could be appearing here. But truthfully, when you're smack dab in the middle of everything, uh, it's not very easy to do much of anything here still, right? Blue becoming support, orange precision. I want you to watch for prior targets, prior highs, right? So there's a high here, which would be a target. And then the next high here, which would be within the pink, right? So you could see something like this forming up, right? That'd be a bit more ideal before going long. For me, that's what I'll wait for. Um, Typically, I don't go long unless there is the strongest buying precision appearing like green, um, pushing through. Um, if it's like in a tight range like this, I want to see it pushing through bearish controls prior. So it's already pushed through, but not in the strongest, right? There is a stronger one. It just hasn't appeared yet because of how tight the range is. So I'm good. I'm okay then with waiting. I'm okay with waiting for this, right? This will give me the breakout of this range. And if it heads even higher, that's completely fine. I build more confirmation on what's going on, right? I'm not too worried. And vice versa, if the put opportunity is here, I know where the liquidity is. I know where I want to go short, right? I can wait for that to happen. Right, so you understand then. This is the wedge. So no need to overtrade anything in between. Anything you take in between needs precision, right? It needs it. Um, so just remember that, okay? So at this point then, I'm going to wrap up. If anybody has questions later on, let me know, ask away. Um, this is just not ideal to be trading at the moment. It's in a very, very tight range, okay? Maybe there's something end of day today back to the MAs, so just prepare for that instead. Especially remember what I've talked about before. If we buy up and have a slow grind up, this isn't worth your time, right? If it's buying up into blue or magenta, right? So if this is the blue or magenta, it's not worth your time, right? So just be patient. Instead, it's going to be better if you get large movement, right? Large volatility appearing. So even if it was to buy up all the way here, you could wait for the next structure, right? Above in this area, as you know, there'll be more volatility in the market. So bigger the breakout, the better for you to attempt to catch a retracement, right? As the buyers are appearing, which means there's a higher likelihood that the buyers will have a second leg, right? So just keep that in mind. At this point, though, time to wrap up for me. Time to take a break. I'm okay with not trading the smack dab middle of this range. You should be too. It's literally 2 points. Not worth your time, right? So, all right, guys. I'm going to get on out of here. Take care.